So we're back. I got the 70s porn filter going.
That just makes someone... I feel like someone's about to come to the door and check our plumbing.
That's the title of this segment.
That is the title of this segment. I'm here. Dun, dun, dun. Who is it? It's the plumber. I come to fix your sink. That's a deep cut. I don't know. We'll have to figure out where I actually... That's in my head. I feel like that was like Sesame Street. I didn't know that maybe they were inserting in our head was Sesame Street gateway drug for porn?
Yeah. And, learning.
Who is it? It's the plumber. I come to fix your sink. And I feel like there was a parrot that was actually trying to answer the door. Anyway, let's get into the film that we saw. I try to watch at least 2 films a week, but Saturday night, no matter what, I make that film night.
You're on 2 films a week now.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm trying to improve because I get pulled into these shows, and then just like you feel like you don't have time for films. And I was like, you have to make time to watch the film. Like, even if you do it in 2 parts and just basically do it like old school, like Salem's Lot back on TV, when you're like, we're going to break it into 2 parts. I got to try to do that. But anyway, this one was theatrical, going in, went to Alamo Drafthouse, enjoyed it. It was the new film by Ty West called X. It was awesome. And like, what would be the you actually gave a really good TLDR for this. You said it was basically like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood mixed with Texas Chainsaw Massacre if they used the same actors from Boogie Nights.
Something like that, yeah.
Something along those lines.
It's like Dazed and Confused meets Boogie Nights meets Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah. But like, first gut reaction was, it was... For expecting it, obviously, with X, you expected it to be gory, but it was beautiful. Like you said.
I'm going to say right off the bat, I saw the trailer for this initially, and I was not into it.
No.
I did not dig the trailer.
Really?
No. And I was just like, I don't know. Maybe it was the way the trailer was cut. I don't know what, but it did not grab me. And I was not super into seeing it. It did. I've seen Ty West's other movies, and I've been a fan of some of his stuff, but this one just did not grab me. But when I started hearing the early reviews after South by, I was kind of like, okay, let me give this a shot. And when I saw it, I was really impressed. I mean, not impressed, just entertained.
Yeah, no,
it's just 100%. A well-crafted, well-made movie.
100% entertaining. And here's the thing, but maybe this got you with the trailer that it got me. It was really hard to explain, like, hey, we're going to go see this movie. What's it about? It's kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but like after watching it, other than like the setting and like basically the vibe, it was not Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But then I guess, again, in a way, it was. But I mean, obviously, the rated X thing, you knew it was going to really get into... Well, let's read the premise. It was going to get into porn. Right? The premise...
I thought it was 100% Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That's what you're... Okay.
To me, this was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot that we didn't know we were getting.
That we were not ready for. Yeah, I guess you're right. The plot follows a cast and crew who gather to make a pornographic film on an old couple's rural Texas property, but get caught and find their lives and risk. Casting was fantastic. I was very, very happy with this casting. I mean, you had Mia Goth, who actually plays double duty, and then you had Jenna Ortega, who's just coming off the hotness that was, her role in Scream. Brittany Snow, Owen Campbell, Martin Henderson, and Scott Metacuti.
Are you familiar with all these actors?
No.
I didn't really know a lot of them. So
I knew Brittany Snow, I knew Jenna Ortega, and I knew Mia Goth.
What was Mia Goth been in? I haven't seen her.
Mia Goth has been in... She was in Nymphomaniac in 2013, and she was in...
So she hasn't been in much, I don't think.
No, it wasn't a ton, but her face was very familiar. And I think I just remember her from Lars von Trier's Nymphomaniac. I think that's where I actually remember.
That's right, it was
You know
showing up.
what she was in? And I haven't seen it yet. Shame on me. Was the remake of Suspiria.
Oh, okay.
And that's
Who was she in that? I don't even remember. I was watching that just the other day.
who is she
Anyway,
playing that.
the thing that got me about this movie at
Sarah
first,
Sims. She was that. Okay.
the thing that got me about this movie at first is it's got the vibe of it's got a Muppet Show vibe, and I always call whenever anybody's doing anything, they're making a production, I call it the Muppet Show vibe, where they're going, let's go out and make a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go out and but except it's like we're gonna make a porn because we saw Debbie Does Dallas and it made $1 million, so we can go out and make Debbie Does Dallas wherever. And we're gonna make $1 million, and that's sort of the premise. And I like that as a jumping off point.
I do,
because
yeah.
and then you've got the dorky nerd character who's gonna direct the first greatest porn film ever.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, he was the film. Yeah, he was.
And God bless them. It was the early days of porn, so they're all shooting on film. And I don't know, whatever you want to say about porn, those early days I feel were pure. And you had a lot of people that were really legit trying to be filmmakers who did porn, and they don't admit it. I think Wes Craven did porn.
You were saying what? Yeah, you were telling me the other day.
With
Wes
Travolta
Craven
did porn. Stallone did porn. It was a gig, man. At the time, it was a job.
It was a kicking off point. Absolutely.
You had a film camera and you were making stuff. It's not like now where you can just shoot shit on your phone and post it.
Yeah.
It took a lot of effort to make a film. So I thought the jumping off point was great. And where the movie really, really hooked me was the cinematography is awesome.
Fantastic. Oh, so good.
But there's
so
one
good.
shot, the one shot where they're taking off to go do the movie, and it's a singular. It's just one shot where they walk out of the back of the strip club, and it's like a crane shot.
Oh, yes.
And they walk
yes.
out, and then crane up, show the van drive off, and they show the refineries in the background of Houston. Perfect. And it had "Why Can't We Be Friends" or some old pop song like that.
Oh yeah, they did great. Their soundtrack was really good too. Very good for memorable songs.
It was perfect, and I was like, okay, I'm in on this movie. I'm down to see how this goes. You know, it got me right at that point. I was in.
I agree. Yeah, sorry, I was looking at their soundtrack choices.
Did you know the character, the black dude who was the main actor in the porno?
Yeah, he was great.
You know that was Kid Cudi?
Yes.
I had no idea until I came home and
yeah, that's when I
started.
started deep diving because I was watching another review that basically said, "Give me Kid Cudi prequel in Vietnam, and I will sign up right now to watch that," because he was great. He was. I mean, again, everybody did. Hats off to this. Everybody did really great. But yeah, they were ready for Kid Cudi prequel. But I'm not a trained expert like you. But I just know that I told you this was the first thing I texted. There was a couple of shots that the suspense. This guy really mastered. Like, to me, Alfred Hitchcock levels of suspense. And there's 3 scenes. Oh, let's throw the spoiler out.
They name drop Hitchcock in the movie too, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I know exactly what scene you're talking about. So just jump right to it because the folks watching want to know.
Yeah, the gator.
The gator.
That
scene.
overhead gator shot killed me because I was just like, they introduced the gator, and I was like, and at this time, you didn't really know much about the film, and the slow swim of that gator, and then it actually was like real life National Geographic footage of seeing basically the size comparison of Mia Goth's character and this freaking gator coming right at her and slowly. This was the equivalent of Spielberg's "Swim, Charlie, swim." I was like, wow, this is really good.
And it's a full frame shot
Beautiful.
of the lake. And you're just seeing the gator creep through the water like molasses after, was it Mia Goth or the
Mia
other one?
Goth, yep.
And slowly catching up with her.
Yeah.
And there's no cuts. And it just goes, and it just drags on forever.
Oh man, it
works so well.
Made it really, really tense, but it was also a beautiful shot, Again, I'm not a trained cinematographer, but it's just like, wow, this is real. And there was two other
You don't
ones
have to be a trained cinematographer. You
to
just
appreciate it.
Appreciate
I
stuff.
do. It was art. Again, this would be one of those films that I would argue it's because it's a horror movie and because of its content, people are going to say this should not be nominated for an Oscar. And I highly, highly disagree because it was shot beautifully. It made me feel like I was in 1979.
They need to take that shit into consideration. And I'm going to stop cursing because the YouTube algorithm will banish us. But you need to take that into consideration when you're giving out these cinematography Oscars, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you have $200 million, of course you're going to have the best cinematography.
Yeah.
But if you've got like a couple of million, you're shooting it on a farm in New Zealand, I think that should be part of what you consider whether or not that's the best cinematography. Because I think you're right. This is a contender. And it feels like... And it feels like the period that it's trying to be in.
Oh, yeah. Because it was very believable. He was like, we got this thing, home video, and people are going to be able to watch porn for their privacy, of their own home like it should be. And it felt like, okay, yeah, because it's 1979. Of course, VCRs are just becoming a little bit more relevant.
And as you're watching that, you're watching that from the perspective of now where everybody just has porn on their phone now.
Yeah, exactly. And exactly. So like it fit.
Imagine showing up to the barn and telling them, no, in the future, people just watch porn on the phone. What?
Yeah, exactly. A phone?
Like a rotary phone?
Like a rotary?
How do you watch porn on a phone? Get out of here.
Oh, it was good. And it had two other suspenseful scenes. I don't want to forget because this next one made me yelp out loud in the theater. My son was like, oh, I can't believe you just did that. And I was like, oh, because of course he's walking around, in his skivvies, the guy by themselves. And they just showed I don't know what kind of shot you would call it. They showed him walking in the distance. He had no clothes and he was barefoot in the barn. And all they did was all of a sudden shoot and you saw the nail. And he was way back there like the gator. And I knew it was coming. I was like, oh, I literally did that out loud in the theater. A good 60 seconds before he even stepped on the nail.
Well, Ty West, I mean, they telegraph it in the movie. I know they call out Hitchcock or something. Like I forget who. I think whenever they're having a discussion with the director kid, they're talking about it. They call him Hitchcock. And Hitchcock's whole thing, his whole theory of suspense was show the audience the danger first. Don't show the characters.
Genius. Yeah, right? That's what he did.
So you show the audience the danger first and let them squirm while the main character has no idea what's coming.
Oh man, and it was they nailed that. And then I guess thinking about Quentin Tarantino when he was talking about Hitchcock stuff, and he referred to like Inglourious Basterds, where I remember he's listening to podcasts and he used that scene where he panned under the floor, when Colonel was there and you saw them hiding under the floor. We had a very similar scene when we actually had some old age senior citizen sex. You got to see them all crazy naked, and he was going to town on her. And then there it is. He was going to town. He pulled out, and he's like, I don't know if my heart can take it. They're like, oh, it can take it. I was like, how is that not a porn line? Oh, your heart can take it.
But God bless old people. Let them have sex.
Yeah, they went for it.
And that's what I love about this movie is like it takes that whole trope of like the horny teens screwing on them. It's like, no, we're horny too.
Yeah, it was the nymphomaniac grandma. She wanted in. And then they pan down slowly and you realize she's trapped under the bed. And then this is, spoiler alert, this is when we realize that, oh, this old lady is crazy. We just had no idea the lack of sex is what made her go crazy.
Well, we're going to find out, apparently, I think, in the prequel.
I was so disappointed.
Not to jump ahead, but like, yeah, we're getting a prequel to this movie.
I was so disappointed because I was like, I'm trained for the certain movies to have the post-credit scene. I had no idea this one was going to have a post-credit scene. So if you haven't seen it yet, stick around for the post-credit scene, which is a trailer to the prequel named Pearl, which is based on the crazy old lady in this one, who is, spoiler alert, she's a crazy ass killer. Well, they're both killers, right? But the brutality was rough. It was rough. There was a lot of rough stuff to watch because you winced, right? When Jenna Ortega took that freaking sledgehammer or whatever to the fingers and you saw her fingers getting smashed.
Shout out to Jenna Ortega's hands. She took a kitchen knife through the hand and screamed, right?
Yes, she did. That's right, she did. So that was very. I don't know if that was a callback, but that was great.
What about the one that got me was I forgot the name of the character, the Matthew McConaughey clone. Which, if you're making a movie right now and you can't book Matthew McConaughey, here's your guy,
Martin Henderson.
Martin Henderson.
Martin Henderson.
His kill,
New Zealand.
His kill got me.
Oh man, yeah.
Looking through the eye hole, that's classic. Classic. Don't look through the eye hole.
Oh, I know.
Because you'll get a trident in your face.
Yeah, and basically there was the suspense here, right? Because he didn't do the look through the eye holes like he was looking through binoculars. He did one eye, and then he slowly did the other eye, and you're like, oh no, I know when he pans over one, they're going to show her, like, I thought it was going to be eye to eye, but they went, nope, we're going to just stab him with a pitchfork right through the hole.
Pitchfork in the eyes.
Oh, man. Yeah, and it was crazy because you're like, they made it very realistic. It's like, how is this old lady going to take out these young, strong, viable men? And she took out two. Like, because first she's like, she threw one off guard because she basically started coming on to him and she basically started dry humping him. And he's like, what are you doing? She didn't see that coming. Like, oh, you're not into it? Boom, knife to the neck. Didn't see it coming.
Knife to the neck 50 times.
Yeah. Then she went all in. And that was like an hour in. That had that From Dusk Till Dawn moment when that's, to me, the movie took the turn. Because before that, it was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for Porn, right? Boogie Nights. And that's when it took the turn of like, this is Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Right.
It took
and it
the turn
doesn't let
at
up
that
for
moment.
the rest of the movie.
No, it didn't. And they were all in. And then you're like, oh, I'm not sure. Is he in on it? And of course he was in on it. And then, Kid Cudi being the Marine, once a Marine, always a Marine. You're like, okay, this is the guy that's going to be tough to take out. And no, I mean, I think these people, like any classic underdog, they took this old couple for granted, and it cost all of them.
Well, one thing that really got me was Ty West's super intuitive, intelligent use of guns in this movie.
Yeah, agreed.
It's like those things get forgotten. You become a slasher movie, and it's like, I'm the guy that kills people with a fucking, golf thing. But that's my gimmick. I kill them with a golf club. But now it's just like introducing, like, when Kid Cudi's character, the Marine, shit's gonna go down with him. It's just like, nope, boom,
yeah,
and just blows him away
right in the chest. Like he was holding it against him, and again, he was taking him for granted. He didn't realize, stop pointing this gun at my chest, because he had no idea that he was about to get blasted into there. And I thought that one. I jumped at that scene too, even though you knew it was coming. That you had to figure out. But that was the first time the old timer, the husband, got in on the murdering action. So right now, you took out, you went back to the 70s and you took out what was going to be considered. You knew that, you kind of felt the final girl coming, but there was a little bit of swerve on who the final girl really was going to be, which I thought was cool. Because basically, the whole don't have sex, don't do drugs. And the one that they called Church Mouse would have been the one that traditionally you would have considered the final girl. But then she's like, her boyfriend is the cameraman and the director. And she's like, this is just smut. Why are you making this? And then slowly she comes over to it and she's like, oh, I want to have a scene in this porn if it's going to be as good as yours. So you thought she was going to be the final girl. And I feel like that was the kicking off point, right? She was the church mouse, which ironically, her panties said Sunday. That was their way, because there was a lot of religious overtones in this, and her panties said Sunday, and she took off a gold cross saying, maybe I'm not going to be the final girl. But then they caught her and they put her in the basement, and they're like, oh, maybe she is going to be that. So I thought that was really, really smart the way they did that, because you had no idea how this was going to go down.
Look, you could take this premise and hand it over to someone else or some other studio and have them try to make this, and you would not get this movie.
No,
you would not. You would get
Nope.
You would get some sort of like tropey, predictable thing, probably super stylish, fancy looking thing. This movie, you couldn't predict where it was going.
No,
you didn't know how it was going to go. And I aside from the cinematography and the editing, we haven't talked so many editing choices are just awesome. Like, when Matthew McConaughey clone gets stabbed with the trident in the eyeballs, it cuts away from that, right? And there's a whole other scene before it cuts back to the trident coming out.
Yes, you're right.
Which was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like that was definitely a choice on the editors, because you've noticed every time they were setting up, it felt like they were setting up a dangerous scene and a scene that you would typically see in a porn happening at the same time, right? Because they had Kim Cuddy just like, boy, I'm sure thirsty. And they were sitting down. I was like, well, why don't you come in and get a drink? At the same time that Mia Long's character was sitting with the old lady, it's like lemonade. And you had two pretty much mirror scenes, one being the danger horror movie and one being the typical scene you would see in a porn.
Yeah, and you had the old lady wanted to seduce everybody.
Yeah, and she had no problem. Oh man, and that scene where she was laying, Mia Goth's character was laying in bed and she was asleep, and basically, the old lady sneaks into the house, takes off all her clothes, and like lays next to her and basically starts to spoon her while she was asleep, and she was rubbing the blood from her hands on the back. I was like, that was another wincing scene. Like you were just waiting for something bad to happen.
And this stuff, like again, if this was a lesser filmmaker making trying to do this for a studio, those moments would not have that sort of cringe to them.
No.
It's the way these things are executed that makes them super cringy. Like old lady crawling into bed with you is a little bit of a trope, right?
Yeah.
Like the creepy little girl kind of trope.
Yep.
It's there, but the way they execute it is what makes it so hard to sit through. You know what I mean?
No, I agree.
I think this is Ty West's, he's been around for a while and making films and mostly indie stuff. This is going to elevate him
100%.
And I think right now, we talked about this on the Chainsaw Massacre episode. Right now, if I'm LeBron James, whoever owns Friday the 13th, Ty West is my guy.
Oh yeah,
to do Friday the 13th.
Now, I remember you said that, and now seeing that, I 100% agree. I think he will make those smart choices that make what you're trying to accomplish with something that's a stretching premise makes sense. Because here's the hot take. Obviously, the movie's X. You're gonna get nudity, but all the nudity that was in there made sense. There was nothing gratuitous about it. It felt like it was part of the art of it, that you're like, okay, that I get it. Because don't you feel like this movie could have literally been made in 1979, and we would be talking about it in the same way that we were talking about, The Hills Have Eyes, in that same 70s eerie horror back then. The Hills Have Eyes, Mother's Day, Class of 84, that oh man, except they would have went probably a little bit further.
That's why this film works. It's a shoot.
Yeah.
There's no winking at the camera. There's
none.
no hey, remember the 70s?
Yeah.
It just does it as if this were the 70s now.
Yeah.
Even the wipes, the transitions. There's a couple of shots. There's one shot that just I almost jumped out of my seat when I saw the shot when Mia Goth, when she first goes out to the lake and she walks out on the pier. And then there's a super long zoom that pulls away from her and reveals the whole lake. That's such a 70s kind of shot.
Okay, yeah, I know what
it just nails it. And it's not trying to imitate it. It's not Grindhouse.
No.
This is the movie you watch at the Grindhouse.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's not, this is fun, we're kind of revisiting. No, this movie could be inserted in 1979, except they probably would have went a little bit further back then. But I still think it would be a film that we were talking about it, because it starts off great. It actually almost had I know this is 69. It had a Night of the Living Dead feel when you had that preacher on the TV that was okay, I feel like now I'm in a house that doesn't have AC. I'm sweating. That preacher added to it. And then I didn't see this coming. I don't know if you did. That twist. That twist coming. It's this film was already great, and I feel like it didn't need a twist, but it added a twist in there.
So that was Mia Goth as the old lady as well, right?
I told you I was just I thought it was somebody younger in old people makeup, but I had no idea it was her until you told me about the end credit scene, and then I circled back to that, and then I'm like, oh, okay. But I
Yeah.
did not know it when I was watching it.
So Mia Goth is the old woman, Pearl, and also on the TV, that's young Pearl, which is also Mia Goth. She plays, well, I guess 2 roles, but
Yeah, so that's what I was trying to figure out. So yeah, so young Pearl was the preacher's daughter.
right.
Wow. Okay, so now I didn't even know that till just now. I just
Now
thought,
it's a franchise.
yes, I was like, now
It's an IP.
I thought it was the Mia Long character as her, that she was the stripper and that she ran away from the preachers, and now it's like, look, my daughter ran away and she became a stripper. So, but I thought it was great, man. I was just like, I'm excited for Pearl. I'm curious how they're going to really capture that, but I can't say enough. A24, well done. This was a great flick.
Ty West, man.
Yeah.
This is his official arrival, and he's been around for a while. He's paid his dues. This is the one that's going to put him into the big movie kind of discussions. If there's a big horror, I mean, man, they just did Chainsaw, but I'm sure he would kill Chainsaw. If they're doing Friday the 13th, he should do that. Between this and like House of the Devil and
The Innkeepers is another one you told me to go check out.
The Innkeepers is pretty good. That's like it's got like a Ghostbusters vibe, which is real pure. But like between this and House of the Devil, nobody can actually do a shoot 70s horror film like Ty West can. You know?
Yeah.
Give him The Exorcist. Give him something big like that. You know?
Wow, can you imagine? Yeah, because I don't know if that series is still in development or if it already happened. But yeah, I think if you would do that, because you know what it reminded me of in the beginning? Remember the first time that you saw Hustle and Flow and you saw the graphic pop up for Hustle and Flow, and it created that vibe of just like, oh, okay, this is a certain time period. He did the same thing with Black Snake Moan. Just the font choices that when he put 1970, he didn't even need to do that, but it created a moment. And then just like setting it up in the beginning when you have the Texas Rangers, they're like, oh my God, you got to see this. Like they basically set up like, oh my God, you got to see this movie. And then it ends just like, what's on this camera? Probably one hell of a horror movie. And then boom, the X popped up. I was like, wow, what great small things, but a great bookend to create that vibe.
Yeah, just beautiful movie. I can't wait to watch it again. I don't know if I'll go watch it at theater again, but as soon as it hits video, I want to.
Yeah, I'm totally all in. So check out X.